And welcome back to another CBB Talk with your boy Will Dickinson. Take two because the first one, it was lagging. So let's get into it. We get the national championship game set between San Diego State and UConn, and that's going to be an amazing game. But let's talk about these two Final Four games and then preview the national championship game, which I'm very excited to talk about. Very excited for tomorrow night. And so we got one game that was an instant classic, and the other one not so much. And we'll talk about the one that was the worst of the two games. Miami versus UConn. UConn ends up winning 72-59 in the game they mostly controlled throughout the night. And this game was thought to be the better one. It actually was the worst spread. And I said before my games with my dad, if one game was going to be the blowout, I would have said this game. And it ended up being it. I did think Miami was going to keep it close and have a chance to win. And UConn's continued to be dominant throughout the night or throughout the tournament and definitely throughout the night tonight. Jordan Hawkins before the game came out. He was battling with the stomach flu. And he didn't look like himself in this one. Only had 26 minutes. Looked a little fatigued out there, and he still was good. Hit 3 threes in this one. 13 points from him. And the bench of UConn really hit big shots. Calcaterra hit a 3 there. Klingon was just a beast. In his only 13 minutes there, Klingon had a block, was great on the defensive end, 4.6 rebounds. And it's crazy. There's not much of a drop-off on this UConn team when you have your All-American Adama Sanogo, and then you have Klingon off the bench. And Donovan Klingon, I think, would start on almost every college basketball team this year. But since they have Adama Sanogo, he comes off the bench, and he plays so good. He had great game tonight, and Sanogo was really the star. 21 and 10 in only 26 minutes there. Hit 2 threes in the first half, and when he hit those 2 threes, I kind of knew that the game was, really going in UConn's favor, because you don't see the first one was kind of down the shot clock. Omier left him open. He hit his first one, nothing but net, and the second one pretty much from the same spot. And it was a little early in the shot clock. So, Omier was off going for a handoff. He just pulls the 3, and he makes both of them. And that just shows that the confidence of his UConn team. Audrey Jackson didn't have an amazing game, only 6 in this one. Tristan Newton hit a really deep 3. Caravan hit that buzzer beater 3 going in the half. It was just a great team effort from UConn. Their defense was amazing, and Miami really couldn't get much to go in this one. Wong led him with 15, and Jordan Miller, after going perfect in his last game, 4 for 10 for the court in this one. They just didn't shoot the ball well, Miami. That was really the difference. They shot under 30% from the field, or under 33% from the field, 7 for 20 from 3, which isn't terrible. But that's the difference. They couldn't really get anything inside the arc there. They had 9 field goals in the first half. UConn shot pretty much 50%, a little under 50%. And they struggled from the line. They did. UConn only 7 for 13, which may hurt you in the national championship game against the San Diego State team, who does a great defensive team and loves to play close games. But what UConn's done throughout the tournament is just control the game from start to finish. They struggled a little bit in the Iona game in the first half, and then since that second half of Iona, they've controlled every game, and they try to take your best player out of the game. They did that with Timmy, and Wong had a good game there, but we saw Omier struggle in that first half. Nigel Pack only 3 for 10 from the field. And Jordan Miller was not good. So they get your best players out of the game, and you're going to have to try to beat them in many different ways, which San Diego State can do, because they have a best player, but they can do it by committee, and they've done it throughout the tournament. And UConn, Sanogo has been dominant, and we saw that Miami just didn't have the size. Omier has been good throughout the tournament there, but he had 4 fouls in this one. He's a very big body, but Sanogo's more skilled player. And we saw it in this one. And this UConn team's confident. We saw what Dan Hurley said going in the locker room, saying they know they were going to win. And they keep doing it. A 13-point win that felt like way more. They were up 20 at one point. Miami made some runs in that second half. They got to 8 or maybe 7 at one point, but they just couldn't, put the full throttle. They couldn't get stops when they needed them to, and their offense was just not reliable down the stretch. And I think that the lack of depth in this one was really just, I think, the difference maker. They actually did have 17 points off the bench, which was more. It was actually the same as UConn. So their bench wasn't the worst thing, but they didn't have the size that could compete with UConn, and UConn just overwhelmed them overall. And they've been dominant throughout the tournament, and it stays here. So UConn is advancing the national championship game, and they're going for number 5 in the program in the last 4 years. They just been that team. I think this last 24 years, they've won 4 national championships, going for 5. They're trying to do it again in Houston. But let's talk about this first game, because we saw another buzzer beater in Houston between FAU and San Diego State. And man, that first half, Matt Bradley came out there, and he's struggling these last couple of games, and he had 11 points early in that first half, really just dominating this game. But you had Nick Boyd hit some threes in the first half there, and the whole team of FAU played just so confident first half. Rosado hit a couple turnaround jumpers. Elijah Martin hit some big shots, and we'll get to him in the second half there. And they just looked like the better team, more confident team. And San Diego State was just really taking tough shots there. And I remember I was saying to myself, how is San Diego State going to get into this game? I'll say, 1, get easier shots in the paint. It seemed like if San Diego State got into the paint, they could go over FAU and make a basket. But they were really struggling getting shots in the paint, and they were taking really difficult mid-range shots. And FAU was getting open threes, and they were taking the first shot available and hitting it a lot of the time. They were getting their confidence up. And in the second half there, FAU got off to a really good start. They were up 14 with around 13 minutes left. And I honestly thought, no way San Diego State comes back. And they started chipping away there. Matt Bradley, 21. This one was really good. Ladie off the bench had 12, was good. And Trammell struggles, had 5 points, but he was, he had a couple floaters down the stretch there. Mensa didn't have 1 point in the second half. Parrish hit 2 threes that were huge, that really kind of put them back in it. And a rope in 22 minutes was huge. 9 points in this one, amazing defense. And he really felt like the difference maker when he was on the court. Had just clutch shots down low there. And going into the game, it was really Elijah Martin that was getting the job done for FAU. 26 in this one, really left everything out there. We kept getting to the line, 9 for 10 from him. And it was just a great performance from FAU, really. They were this close to going to the national championship game, and then down the stretch, San Diego State gets the stop on defense, and they go down the court there. And Lamont Butler has the ball, and they took Matt Bradley out for defense. They had a defensive lineup on the court there for San Diego State, and Coach Dutcher did say he ran out of plays, and they let him play. They try to get a layup down the court. FAU gets back, stops it, and then Lamont Butler, man, he goes in, and I was worried he wasn't going to get a shot off. His foot was this close to going out of bounds. He gets it, goes to his left, rises over, and raises a shot that I was like, and he made it, and I went crazy. I mean, that's the first buzzer beater in March Madness since the Jalen Suggs shot over 2 years ago in the bubble Final Four against UCLA. That shot was amazing. The pull up mid, pure, nothing but net, to win in a Final Four, to advance to a national championship on the buzzer beater. FAU was so close. Hats off to them, man. They're going to be back. If they can keep most of their players, because the really only guy they're going to be missing is Michael Forrest. Everyone else, I believe, can return, and if they can do that, they're going to be back in a high spot next year, trying to make another run. There's no doubt in my mind. But this San Diego State team, man, they're all experienced. They've been in these situations before. They had a really good 2020 year that they got cut short, and this team has just been, winning a lot of games throughout these last 5 to 10 years. They've been a consistently great program, and they finally broke through. If you keep making tournaments, you're gonna get some wins. And San Diego State's playing for a national championship. They've beat the number 1 team in the country. They just beat a red hot 35-win FAU team, and they're going on to the national championship game against the UConn Huskies that no one would have expected. So now the national championship is set. It's San Diego State versus UConn, a 4 versus 5. That has never happened in a national championship game, and it's happening right here on the biggest stage. UConn's already going against 2 of the 5 seeds. And then they end up going against 3 of the 5 seeds. They beat St. Mary's by 15. and they beat Miami by 13, and they've opened it as, I believe, a 7.5-point favorite. That is a lot for a San Diego State team, but before tonight, hadn't allowed 70 points in a game. Their most before that they allowed was 64 to Alabama. So their defense has been really good, and FAU, played really well. They hit threes in that first half against San Diego State. So yeah, this game is going to be. I think it's going to be a close game, and maybe I'm stupid for that. I do think UConn's going to win. UConn was my pick in the Final Four to win the national championship. They are now, but I've been saying they're not an unbeatable team. But maybe I'm just a fool for saying that, because throughout the tournament they've looked unbeatable, and San Diego State, is playing a lot of close games, and they keep getting the job done. And these last two games they've won by a combined 2 points. So UConn's no slouch of an opponent, but at San Diego State, man, I think people are just assuming UConn's going to win this game. I do think it's going to be good because San Diego State does play a lower possession game. They can lock up on defense. And one thing about San Diego State is they don't force a lot of turnovers for how good of a defense they are. They just hope that they allow a really tough shot, and they're going to play hard defense until the final 5 seconds. But if UConn get in transition and hit difficult shots and see if they can get Jordan Hawkins feeling close to 100% and on Monday night, then that will really help FAU's chances. And this game's at 9 o'clock. Man, why is it 9? Like that I just realized that the championship game is at 9 p.m. Eastern. And that sucks. Like, I got school next day. On Tuesday, I'm taking the ACT, and I gotta wake up really early to take that. So, I mean, I'm gonna stay up and watch the game. Like, no doubt. I mean, I'll be tired. I don't care. But it sucks. Like, it's at 9, like 8:30 at least. 8. I know the West time zone needs to be up. All the San Diego State people out there, but still, 8:30 next time. I guess it's too late now. Why am I complaining? But that would be a complaint of mine. Why is this game starting at 9? But wow, UConn is the overwhelming favorite, like my video said. I thought the Miami could beat them, and they just controlled the game the whole time, and it's gonna be a tough matchup because San Diego State has the bigs that can compete with Sonogo and Klingon, with Mensah, Ladie, Johnson. These guys play super big for their size, for just who they are, and they're all older players, experienced. Matt Bradley had such a good game in this one. If he can repeat that performance, then I do think that there's a chance of San Diego State win this game, because they're going to need another Matt Bradley game. Tramel's probably going to have to play better. They only have him around like 7 points in this one. Mensah is going to have to play great defense and stay out of foul trouble. But lucky about San Diego State is they do have the depth that can compete with them. They're going to have to hit more threes. They didn't hit a lot of threes in this game, San Diego State, against FAU. It was really just Matt Bradley hitting their threes and Parrish. They're going to have to hit threes against UConn, and they're going to have to just try to keep this game in the low 70s or 60s, because if it gets into a scoring game, I don't think San Diego State can keep up with UConn, the offensive end, because they have scored 80 in 3 out of their 5 games. But I'm very excited for this national championship game, man. I mean, these teams have been great throughout the year. I was always so high on San Diego State. UConn, they were number 2 in the country at one point. They fell off, and I still believed in UConn, man. And I did say going in the Big East tournament, they're the most dangerous team. Then they lost to Marquette in the Big East semifinal, man. But since that game, they've destroyed everyone in this tournament. In San Diego State, man, they haven't lost in a while. They won the Mountain West tournament, and they've been rolling throughout these last 10 games. And these two teams deserve to both be here. I know it's not the most appealing game. And the last time these two teams met, it was Kemba versus Kawhi. And I don't think we have 2 of those caliber players in this game. But I do think we just have 2 great teams that play different styles of basketball, meeting on the biggest stage in college basketball. 2 programs that San Diego State's been an amazing program over these last years. What Steve Fisher did to Brian Dutcher, this team was going to be a top 2 seed in the tournament in 2020. That didn't happen, and UConn's been there. Hasn't been in the national championship game since 2014, but they've won 4 of them, and this is just a great program that's trying to get the name as a blue blood. So this game has a lot at stake, and it's for a national championship. Both these teams deserve it, and they could get there, and they showed that they did. And man, I'm excited for this game. If I had to bet, I would say San Diego State probably, but to cover, there's 7.5 is a lot. But I do think UConn will win this game. I'm looking forward to Jordan Hawkins, trying to just keep building that draft stock. And he wasn't 100% in that game, so I hope he can be and see the real Jordan Hawkins. Because man, when he gets going, it's hard to beat him. He's great moving out the ball, and it's hard to keep moving when you're just not feeling great. So San Diego State, UConn, national championship. Man, Monday night, tune in, and I'll be here to talk about it on Tuesday. All right. See you guys then. We'll have a champion crowned. And man, it would be great to talk about a national championship game and talk about a team that is gonna raise a banner and cut down the nets. Peace.